right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well and having a great day so far. Firstly, thank you so much to Ashoka for allowing us the opportunity to speak more about Spes Nova today. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here. I think before I get into the details of our work, I think it's appropriate for me at this time to inform those who don't know that Spes Nova actually means new hope in Latin. And in a nutshell, what we at Spes Nova strive to do is to provide a path towards sustainability and prosperity for the working poor. So Dana and I are going to be your speakers for today. My name is Ithil Yigambaram, and I'm a graduate student studying international political economy and development here at Fordham University in New York. And I'm originally from a small kingdom in Africa called Eswatini. Dana?
Yeah, thank you, Ithil. Hi, everyone. As Ithil mentioned, my name is Dana Nelson. I was a student at Fordham University from 2014 to 2018. For 3 of those years, I was the president of Students for Fair Trade and ran the pilot program for Spes Nova, including running the on-campus business. And after I graduated from Fordham, I went over to the United Kingdom, where I earned my master's in development studies at the University of Cambridge. And from there, I was sponsored by USAID to travel to Ghana and build out social compliant mechanisms for West Africa's garment industry. And I have since returned to the States, and I'm currently working as an investment and strategy analyst at Equivoco, which is a woman-owned impact investing fund in New York City, and is partially founded by the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. So there we work on scaling affordable capital, going to small businesses, particularly those served by women, people of color, veterans, and those in low and moderate income communities.
Thanks, Dana. So to provide a brief background to Spes Nova, Dana and some of our volunteers have put together a short video. I do hope you enjoy.
We live in a globalized world, yet some artisans from developing nations lack access to regional and international markets. These artisans also lack financial capital and security in order to grow their small businesses into successful enterprises. That's where Spes Nova steps in. Spes Nova is a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to help alleviate poverty in some of the poorest regions of the world. Through microfinance, market development, and microinsurance, artisans are able to reach first world markets, leading to a cycle of growth and development for their local economy. Our Transporter faculty-student network from educational institutions around the world is devoted to bringing handcrafted, artisan-made products to your door. By visiting our site and exploring our products, you will be a part of our efforts to alleviate poverty and establish a future of dignity for our artisans. Join the Spes Nova family. Join the Spes Nova way. Spes Nova, providing a path towards sustainability and prosperity for the working poor.
All right, so here is our presentation outline for today. So to get us started, I'll discuss our mission and vision at Spes Nova, and also provide a background as to why we do the work that we do. Dana will then discuss our 3-pillar approach to sustainable development, which includes market development, microcredit, and microinsurance. And with this, you will be able to understand that our 3-pillar approach is not just a short-term solution, but provides stable, sustainable, and inclusive development to the developing world. I will then discuss how being a part of Spes Nova's network not only benefits the artisans receiving assistance, but also benefits the academic institutions involved, as well as the customers who buy the products. A short case study on one of our artisans, that being the Nyabigena Soapstone Carvers, will be briefly touched on. And then we will provide some details on our partners here at Fordham University, and also our partners at Javeriana University down in Colombia. Lastly, Dana will discuss how you can form a Spes Nova chapter at your university. And then we will end with a short Q&A session. So our mission at Spes Nova is to help contribute to alleviating poverty by helping fund production, protect assets, and expand the market reach of entrepreneurs and small businesses around the world. And how we hope to achieve our mission is that we strive to implement our 3-pillar approach to sustainable and inclusive development by establishing a network of academic institutions from around the globe that offers long-term benefits while supporting the dignity of the working poor. And this network draws on the desire to improve the lives of families and communities, eventually allowing them to escape from cyclical poverty. Furthermore, given that we are operating in an academic environment, the Spes Nova network creates opportunities for applied learning and global education opportunities to students at our partner universities. At Spes Nova, we also recognize that many artisans living in the developing world lack access to local, regional, and international markets. They also lack access to market research, product design, and customer feedback. And because they're living in developing economies, it is most likely the case that they're going to lack access to financial resources as well as financial security. So this is where Spes Nova steps in. So what we do is that firstly, we partner with universities and academic institutions around the globe. And through this network, we connect students with local artisans and other students around the world. And with this, we promote sustainable and inclusive development for the working poor through what we like to call our three-pillar approach.
Right, and now that Athil has introduced our mission, I'll expand upon our model to achieve that mission, which, as he mentioned, is a three-pillar approach to sustainable and inclusive development. For a development scheme to be sustainable, it must deliver long-term solutions rather than just short-term relief. And for it to be inclusive, it must empower the people it intends to benefit and be driven by and for localities. A leading factor to enduring economic mobility and economic empowerment is entrepreneurship. However, for an entrepreneur to be successful, they need access to capital, which is often restricted in developing economies. And this leads to our first pillar, microcredit, also referred to as microfinance, which is a provision of small-scale loans. Today, most microfinance institutions, or MFIs, who operate in these communities offer incredibly high interest rates, typically over 40%, and in some cases, it can be even as high as 100%, like with Compartamos Bank in Mexico. Mohammed Yunus of Grameen Bank, the founder of microfinance, has even denounced these models, arguing that instead of actually helping families escape poverty, it can further perpetuate a cycle of debt and financial precarity. And this is just in regards to formal market loans. Low-income borrowers in developing economies, formal sector, where predatory lenders or loan sharks charge exorbitant interest rates and have intimidating collection practices. And it is important to note that because of the lack of access to traditional local banking systems, rarely do low-income borrowers have credit history. So with no credit history, a lack of assets for collateral, and the small volume of their transaction needs, it is incredibly challenging to go to commercial banks, if there even are any in their areas. MFIs have been trying to fill the gap and have received tremendous attention and notoriety for their work. But as I mentioned prior, rates remain high due to MFI's internal costs, their cost of capital, and their ongoing perception that these loans are high risk, despite the fact that most studies suggest the loan write-offs have been incredibly low. And it's really from these observations that the first pillar of this three-pillar approach was born. Spes Nova strives to offer affordable, responsible loans to artisans and entrepreneurs in developing economies. And to date, we have primarily provided zero interest pre-production loans. So when our network of universities purchase goods from artisans, we pay the artisan upfront so that they can purchase the necessary materials and already have their profits to assist with their living costs. And as we grow our network, especially our network of artisans, and some of those may be in industries outside of the exportable goods space, we will partner with responsible MFIs to offer loans with a 10 to 15% interest rate, which is still far below the 40+ interest rates of the loans that currently saturate the market. So we have built out a section of our website to help crowdfund loans to artisans. And this means that any individual, you, myself, our friends and family, can go on and provide a loan. And another attribute of our lending that I will mention before I move on to the second pillar is that we create credit profiles for our borrowers. This way, they have a documented track record of repayment, making it more likely for them to be able to enter the formal banking system in the future. So most microfinance initiatives really begin and end with these financial transactions. However, from our grassroots research and the conversations that we've had with academics and practitioners, it's really clear that capital alone, it just is not sufficient for a small business to grow. And even if an entrepreneur has the financing to make products, if they do not have a market to sell it to, they will ultimately fail. And this is where our second pillar comes in, market development. Many artisans and entrepreneurs do not have access to robust consumer markets. So even if they get the capital to grow, again, they can't access customers to absorb the expanded production that they make. So let's take a fictional artisan making bracelets in Guatemala. Imagine she was able to access one of her loans to help her produce the bracelets, but when selling it in her local market, she's unable to generate enough sales due to the limited purchasing power of the population. To solve for this dilemma, Spes Nova has created a network of universities who will buy products from artisans and have students sell the products on campus and online. Additionally, students at these universities conduct market analysis and work directly with artisans to improve their product design, implement quality controls, and determine fair pricing to make it sellable in international markets. And having these two pillars does make sustainable and inclusive development much more attainable. It can result in very strong businesses, but without proper risk protections, the strong businesses are still left vulnerable. So this leads us to our third and final pillar, which is microinsurance. So to illustrate, let's imagine that same artisan in Guatemala. After receiving a loan from Spes Nova and working with our partner universities overseas, she's able to sell more products, increase her income, and invest back in the business. She purchased inventory, equipment, and a new building to house all of her supplies. But then a landslide occurs, wiping out all of her business assets. If this happened, she would be in financial ruin. Developing countries are among the most vulnerable to weather-related events and other natural disasters, yet they are statistically the least insured in the world. This is both an opportunity and a moral duty to provide proper risk transfer mechanisms. Spes Nova plans to offer natural catastrophe peril and parametric insurance policies. In the future, we plan to add this onto the lending that we do, where borrowers will pay a premium along with their principal and interest payments on their loans. And then if a covered catastrophe hits, they will not only get the payouts their policy outlines, but their loans will then be completely forgiven. And combined, we believe that these three pillars can deliver sustainable and inclusive development for entrepreneurs around the globe. However, the stability of these pillars themselves rests upon the well-being of the people and communities they serve. And this includes the access to nutritious food that they have, adequate housing, healthcare, and education. And that is why Spes Nova will proactively engage in additional philanthropic projects in the communities in which we work. We have a donation section on our website, and we also encourage donations to the sales of each of our products. And those funds will go towards capability projects like building schools or funding healthy living programs.
So there are other initiatives out there that have a similar mission to that of Spes Nova, right? That being to assist the poor and help them escape from cyclical poverty. However, what sets Spes Nova apart is that we operate in an academic-driven environment, which not only provides an ethical validation of Spes Nova's work, but also ensures quality feedback to the artisans, ensuring their sustainable business growth. Furthermore, as Dana just discussed, our three-pillar approach creates the basis for a sustainable and inclusive development. And also, being a part of Spes Nova's network provides a unique, mutually beneficial opportunity for artisans, universities, and general consumers and sponsors engaged in global developmental efforts. Now, something that we're also very proud of at Spes Nova is the transparency of our operations. So Spes Nova's online platform provides full transparency between the sponsors, buyers, and producers, creating an easier way to see the benefits of their investments and purchases. So essentially, you'll be able to know how much of the final price the artisan actually receives. A detailed cost breakdown is available in every product profile on our website, right? And this includes things such as the producer price, which is made up of the cost and markup. It also includes the foreign BDP, commission, and shipping and handling. So BDP stands for Business Development Partner. And among all these costs are also financial costs, right? Which go to PayPal or Stripe when a consumer makes a transaction. So this is just an example of the cost breakdown that I was just talking about. This is a price breakdown for a soapstone hippo that is sold on our website. And as you can see, there's a BDP commission, the Spes Nova commission, the product cost, and so on and so forth, all readily available for the consumer to view. So through Spes Nova's operations, all parties benefit, right? So it's not only going to be the artisan who is receiving assistance that's going to benefit, but we also believe that in some way or another, the customers as well as universities are also going to benefit. So the artisans benefit from market expansion and access to market-based tools such as product design, market research, and customer feedback. And the artisans also have access to microcredit and thus have the opportunity to create long-term improvement to their business, family, and community around them. Universities benefit by fostering social outreach within an academic framework, And this aspect brings humanity into the classroom, which is oftentimes taken for granted. This also broadens the mindset of students, which allows them to view developmental issues from a different perspective. Universities are also able to expand their networks and help their members in being socially responsible and promoting global citizenry. The students will also get the opportunity to be involved in real-world opportunities in market research and development methodologies, and will be able to confidently say that they have positively contributed to someone's life. Some of the benefits that are provided to the consumers or customers is that they have access to a user-friendly web platform to shop for handmade products in global markets. These products are aesthetically pleasing, well-crafted, and artisan-made. And the customers are also able to see a transparent breakdown of prices and know how much of the price went directly to the producer. So I'll now discuss Spes Nova at Fordham University. So this is the Fordham team, and I'll start by mentioning our co-founders, that being Dr. Stephen Carlson and Dr. Eric Rengifo. We also have two market research professors on our team, that being Dr. Alexander Bui and Dr. Yulia A. Komarova. On our Fordham team, we also have the Dean of the Gabelli School of Business, that being Dr. Donna Rapascioli. And we also have the Associate Director of Fordham Social Innovation Collaboratory, that being Mr. Sadibu Sila. Dr. Rosen Aksoy has also been the strong supporter of Spes Nova, and she is the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Studies and Strategic Initiatives at Fordham University. Lastly, we have Mr. Brian Dunn, who is the Spes Nova Chapter Director at Fordham University, and he is also the Assistant Dean of Honors Opportunities and Dual Degree Programs. So this year's steering committee is led by just Dana and I. And then we have Julia and Elizabeth, who are leaders of the Fair Trade Club at Fordham, and who are also leaders of the Spes Nova Fordham Chapter, which, as I just mentioned, is directed by Mr. Brian Dunn. So this is a photo of the Fordham Chapter and the Fair Trade Club taken in 2019 that helps Spes Nova's operations at Fordham University. So the volunteers of this team help organize selling events on campus. They help with marketing and social media, keeping track of inventory, writing blogs, and even creating promotional graphics and videos, just like the one that we showed you in the beginning of our presentation. We also have classes taught at Javeriana University in Colombia, as well as at Fordham University in New York, where the syllabus of each class is structured in such a way that aids Spes Nova's operations. So at Javeriana University, there is an international marketing class, as well as an entrepreneurial mindset course. And at Fordham University, the two courses that are offered are marketing research and fair trade entrepreneurship. So this is the international marketing class for 2018 at Javeriana University. And here are the same students analyzing the products received by Colombian artisans. So basically, these students will create a detailed technical sheet of the products in which they receive, and they will send these sheets to students at Fordham University for further market development analysis. And what this means is that the students at Fordham University will basically develop ways in which these products can be improved in order to suit the international market. So this is the Fair Trade and Entrepreneurship class for 2017 at Fordham University, which is taught by Dr. Eric Rengifo. And as part of their coursework, as I just mentioned, these students who take the course will receive the technical sheets from our partner universities and perform a market development analysis on the products. This is the Fair Trade and Entrepreneurship class for 2020. As you can see in the top left is Dr. Eric Rengifo, and just next to Dr. Rengifo is myself.
And one of our most developed university partners outside of the US is Pontificia Universidad Javeriana de Cali in Colombia. And the chapters at this university have been active since 2017, and they are continuing to grow in terms of the number of students involved, as well as the number of artisans engaged. And this is the team at Javeriana Cali. We're very proud to have the rector, Luis Felipe Gomez, supporting our initiative and voicing its importance in the university's approach to both social impact and global education. The Dean of the Economics Department, Silvia Barrero, and the Director of the Management Department, Fabian Osario, are also active supporters and were crucial in securing the initial course offerings. And last, but certainly not least, Maria Gomez Vallejo, the professor of the Entrepreneurial Mindset course at Javeriana Cali, has been leading Spes Nova relationships since 2019. At this time, we're going to play a video created by Maria and her students, explaining their actions to date and how being involved in Spes Nova has really enhanced their university experience.
Hi, I am Maria Gomez. I am a professor at Javeriana University. I am in charge of entrepreneurial mindset course, and I am leading this project Science last semester. This project between Fordham University and Javeriana University began in 2017 with some marketing courses and some students from our faculty. I work in economic faculty. Last semester, I began to lead the project, and we began to search some students and to consolidate our team. The last 2 years, the project was in charge of 3 different teachers, Ricardo Castaño, Marcela Sacanamboy, and Juan Carlos Roldan. They began the first phase of the project, and I continue with the second phase. The first phase was basically to try to search and to find people of vulnerable communities who be able to develop handcraft to be export to the United States in the frame of just trade or just international trade. I began the project, and the first step that I made was to try to find someone who assisted me, and she was Diana Arteaga. She's a student of the 8th semester of business administration, and she was the person who began to work with me.
As teacher Maria Pilar said, she needed an assistant to research and find 9 business international students who have an academic average of more than 4, are fluent in English, and are aware of the importance of promoting the fair trade. Some of my duties are manage the communication between the teams of USA and Colombian team, and get the information from all the persons that participate in this project.
We, as students of international business, have worked and looked for artisans of vulnerable communities that are part of the 3 Jesuit companies that work with them. There are the Jesuit Refugee Service, the IMCA, and the Intercultural Institute of Studies.
This has been a whole process where both parties have learned a lot from each other. Artisans have learned how to manage their own resources and how to be more competitive, while we have put into practice all the knowledge that we have acquired during university. We have created a straight contact with all the communities, and most of them are from native communities that are very vulnerable and live in rural areas of our country. We have also, in every visit that we've made, we have created a new catalog for them, so their products are going to be more attractive to the final customers. And also, we have acquired all the necessary information that we need to create the technical sheets that are needed for the export.
After submitting the technical data sheets, we await for the result of the marketing research conducted by Fordham University to choose the products that will be sold. After that, Fordham University will send to us the capital that we will give to the artisans so they can produce their products. Then, we as an international business students will take care of the process of logistics to deliver the products to Fordham University so they can send it to the final consumers.
And as mentioned in the video, Javeriana Cali started working with Spes Nova back in 2017 with their market development courses. There were 2 different classes devoted to the project, and they identified artisans in Cauca County, which is one of 3 counties in Colombia, which are collectively the home to the vast majority of Colombia's Aboriginal population. The students then crafted product technical sheets to document the artisan's products, including a written description, the measurements of the products, and the materials used in its creation. They then transferred these sheets to Fordham University, who reviewed them and selected products for purchase. And in 2019, they added the Entrepreneurial Mindset course, which is focused on the logistics of shipping and handling, identifying more artisans, and managing university relationships. And I will highlight that the students involved in this project have been primarily women, as you can see from that video. And from a gender lens, it does have immense impact. These women have gained confidence to further pursue a career in international business, an industry that has been predominantly dominated by men. And throughout the past few years, Javeriana Cali did share some lessons they have learned. Firstly, they discovered that it's best to have a core team that they can have stay intact across semesters. This way, they don't have to have any training gaps, and there's more time for students to see projects through. The second lesson they learned is that it is a great recruitment tool to target specific majors, and for them, it was those studying international trade. And lastly, we determined it would be most beneficial for Javeriana Cali to have their own section on our e-commerce website, so that is currently under construction.
So these are some of the artisans that we have been working with. On the left over here are Fordham students from the Fair Trade and Entrepreneurship class with our artisans in India. And these artisans form part of an organization called MESH, which stands for Maximizing Employment to Serve the Handicapped. So MESH is an Indian organization practicing fair trade with disabled and literacy affected craft artisans for their rehabilitation. And then in the center and the top right photo are our artisans all the way in Kenya that form part of the Nyabigena Soapstone Carver organization. So just to talk a bit more about the Nyabigena Soapstone Carvers, as I mentioned, they are from Kenya, and the Nyabigena Soapstone Carver organization was started in 2009 and now consists of 150 artisans who together sell products both locally and internationally. And the organization is also a member of the World Fair Trade Organization and also offers other forms of training opportunities to the artisans. So here are the artisans at work carving the beautiful soapstone products that I'll be able to show you in just a moment. But before I do that, let me just touch on the relationship that we've had with the Nyabigena Soapstone Carvers. So we have been working with them for about 7 years now, and we issue 2 annual requests for products each year, that being in December and May, because they tend to coincide with the end of academic terms. And the average order size ranges between $1,500 and $2,500 US. And the positive impact that this has on the artisans is that it provides a stable income stream in terms of both quantity as well as prices. And with the stable income stream, they are then able to fund community level education. So these are the beautiful products that I was talking about. As you can see, these products did have a considerable amount of effort put into them, and they are very beautiful. Dana, you do have a soapstone ram with you, right? That was made by the Nyabigena Soapstone Carvers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here is my little soapstone ram. You might be able to see on the side that it has an F imprinted for Fordham. So this is something that we buy every year from them in bulk as a university, and the university gives it out to the graduates of its business school. So it's just a great token for students to take away. And at the same time, as Athil mentioned, it's great to just have a reoccurring order so that the artisans can know that they have a payment coming.
Yeah, thanks, Dana. So these are other products that Spes Nova facilitates the sale of. So on the top left, we have a poncho from Colombia, and this satchel over here is also made in Colombia. We then have some beautiful bracelets made in Guatemala. And then the plate, the chest set, as well as this bracelet over here come all the way from Kenya. And then of course, on our website, you can also find other products made by Mesh, who are the artisans that I mentioned are in India.
So you might be asking yourself, how can I establish a Spes Nova chapter at my university? Well, this does look a little different depending on if you're in the US or outside the US. So for that reason, I'm going to detail each process separately. So to begin, we'll start with those located inside the US. The first step is really to build out your team. So this typically includes an administrator and a group of students. So that could either be a class, a club, or both. And we do want to encourage both administrators and students to reach out to us if they're interested. At Spes Nova, we like to think one of our greatest strengths is connecting people and interests. So if you're a student, we can work with you to identify staff who may be able to support this project. And if you're a staff member, we can help you develop the best strategies to present this to your administration to gain approval and support, as well as the best strategies to then recruit students to be involved. And the second step, once you have your team in place, is to go ahead and purchase goods. We will help you connect with an international university to locate artisans to make your purchase. Or if you're very eager, we can even transfer inventory to you from Spes Nova's Fordham Chapter. And in order to pay for the goods, you can consider grant aid, student club budgets, or even crowdsourcing. And once sales start to generate, you can use that revenue to either pay back the original source or to purchase more goods. And once you have your products, it's really time to start building the infrastructure of your sales program. And this comes in two veins, on-campus and online sales. So for on-campus sales, you'll need to secure a cash box. At Fordham University, this was housed with an administrative member who would keep it in his office and have a sign-out sheet for students to sign when they're taking it for on-campus sales. And Fordham also uses Venmo to accept digital transactions, so we could also help other universities establish this on their campus. For online sales, you'll need to appoint 1 or 2 students to be managers of the e-commerce site. So Spes Nova has developed an e-commerce site with a backend that can be accessible by each university with their own logins. So this allows students to upload the products that they have by providing a picture, a description, the weights and measurements of the product, and the pricing, as well as to link it to the appropriate artisan profile. And then step 4, before you launch your online sales, you'll need to ensure that you have the proper shipping and handling processes in place. So this includes appointing another manager for shipping and handling and identifying a mailing location, whether that be on or off campus, and then documenting the pricing of the shipping materials required. And so when an order is made, the managers will get a notification specifying what needs to be shipped, the box size required, and the address that it needs to go to. And then from there, you can begin selling. Online, we accept both Stripe and PayPal, and in person, we accept cash and Venmo, as I mentioned prior. And we do suggest having a group of students focus on marketing. At Fordham, they had a sales group that would sell in front of the cafeteria 3 days per week, but they also sold at sporting events, dances, and holiday markets. And we found that having flyers to advertise for these events proved to be quite effective. And it also allows students who are interested in going into the marketing or graphic design space to create a portfolio that they can use in future job searches. And students at Fordham University have also developed social media platforms to spread the word about Spes Nova. And the same thing goes there, where they can create portfolios for when they are going through the job search process. So these are some pictures of Fordham students selling across campus. And now I will briefly explain the steps a university outside of the US may take to establish a chapter. So the first step is really the same. It's making a team. So that would typically be an administrator and then a group of students, either a club, a class, or both. And then next, they need to identify local artisans interested in really participating in the program. And from there, they will provide samples of the artisan products to their US partners. And based on the feedback they receive from those US partners, they will work with the artisans to adjust their products. And once the final approval from the US university is received and they place an order, the foreign university will need to facilitate the payments and shipping processes. And they will follow up with the US university to really gain some feedback on the product, and then the cycle continues. And then the last step, if you don't mind transferring.
Sorry.
No, don't worry. So the last step here is perhaps the most important. When developing an approach to development, good intentions just really are not enough. We seek to provide evidence that Spes Nova is making an impact on the livelihood of the artisans we work with, and to adjust the model that we have accordingly. And this is why we are crafting measuring and evaluation tools where we will monitor our impact. And this will be implemented in collaboration with our international university partners. And overall, we do believe that Spes Nova provides a really unique and effective approach to international education. Not only do students gain tangible skills in an applied learning setting, but they get to engage with service learning and gain a global perspective. And the latter is really achieved through sharing ideas and collaborating with students at other participating universities. And the students also gain an understanding of the importance of data and impact evaluation, and then other tangible skills And this can range from inventory management, e-commerce, entrepreneurship, and international trade. And they can put this all on the resume and speak to it in interviews, which is really invaluable. And they also get to practice foreign languages, which could be another asset. And then perhaps most importantly, they do gain a sense of cultural awareness. Producing change makers is our and our university partners' ultimate goal. The following is a sample of universities that we have partnered with to date. As mentioned prior, Fordham and Javeriana Cali are our most active chapters. The other universities here are in the incubation stage, although I will mention that Fairfield has begun their sales program, so we're very excited to see that moving forward as well. So here's a quick video to explain our university partnerships at a high level.
In order to establish both microfinance and market development in its platform, Spes Nova partners with universities and educational institutions around the world. Together with this network, Spes Nova works to create a continuous, sustainable process to support funding and sales that help artisans and their local communities. Spes Nova identifies, evaluates, and promotes partnerships between U.S. and foreign sponsor organizations. Once this is done, foreign universities identify and evaluate local artisans and cooperatives to work with. They assess proposed products from the artisans and send viable options to their U.S. partner universities. The U.S. sponsor organizations, aka the U.S. colleges and universities, are in charge of evaluating potential products, performing domestic market research, pricing, market size determination, and measuring market interest. In general, this is done as part of a regular class related to market research or similar classes. In order to make the best choice for products, students involved in the U.S. program present their market research results to their foreign counterparts. Once a decision is made on what products will be ordered, the foreign sponsor coordinates with its local artisans and signs a product agreement. This includes a detailed product list to be produced, the initial funding requirements, shipping commitments, and a final payment schedule. After this is finalized, the terms are then communicated to the U.S. sponsor organization, who communicates the initial funding requirements to Spes Nova. Then Spes Nova crowdfunds the funding requirements and sends those funds to foreign sponsors, who transfers the funding to their local artisans, allowing those artisans to produce the products asked for in their orders. Once the products are produced and sent from the local artisans to the foreign sponsor organizations, they are then shipped to the U.S. partners. In this way, Spes Nova allows the artisans to have access to the American market through its platform. The U.S. sponsor organization is also in charge of advertising their products and developing their presence on the site. Such a process gives students hands-on training and professional development in the fields of social entrepreneurship, all while gaining innovation, market research, marketing and sales, and other highly regarded skills. By supporting Spes Nova, you're not only supporting artisans around the globe, but you're supporting the educational development of students at your local university. So join the Spes Nova family. Join the Spes Nova way. Spes Nova, providing a path towards sustainability and prosperity for the working poor.
Right, and I think with that, it concludes our formal presentation. I want to thank you again for attending and certainly encourage you to reach out if you'd like more information or to walk through, again, the steps that it would take to start a chapter at your university. So at this time, I think we can take any questions that people may have. If no one has questions, we do have a few other topics we can get to, but I figured now would be a good time. So if any brave souls want to ask. All right, so Theo, maybe we'll move to the next slide and discuss a few things here. So we do have a few other services that Spes Nova offers, kind of in addition to this 3-pillar approach that we have of microfinance, market development, and microinsurance. So one thing is a job search platform. So this is something that we have been toying with. essentially it would be a way for not only the artisans we work with, but other individuals in the communities in which we work to create and upload an individualized resume, a CV, to this job search site. And then we will work with identifying employers in these areas to review those products, and also artisans as they continue to grow and expand their businesses, they'll be able to review the CVs there and potentially hire individuals from this job search platform. The next, actually, do you mind going back one? Yeah, just business and credit history. While we're on this slide, I did mention this briefly prior, but it's a tendency, especially in developing markets, but really all markets, that not having documented credit history can be a barrier to entering formal lending spaces, particularly banks. And we recognize that this is a challenge and want to work with our artisans and all of our borrowers to really develop that credit history and have a documentation of their ability to repay loans. And so in doing so, we'll hopefully be able to give them something that they can tangibly bring to a bank when they're going to potentially apply for credit or open accounts, and that may help them get their foot in the door. And here's an example of just a career slide related to what we spoke about prior. And here's an example of the business and credit history, the way that it might be documented. And then another idea that we have been developing is relatedly an incubator. So because we are in the academic space, we found that many individuals involved in Spes Nova, from the administrators who are helping conduct sales on campus, the students themselves, graduate students involved, etc., they have ideas related to economic development. And we figured, as Spes Nova being a connector and having this great network of academic institutions globally, we can serve as a connector and an incubator of these ideas. So we can connect different researchers and practitioners to make ideas into reality, to conduct research, and to, in essence, move the field of development forward. Next one here is a local market finder. So in our section on market development, we mentioned how oftentimes artisans struggle finding customers in their local areas because of a lack of purchasing power. But we do note that there are regional markets that could be very lucrative for artisans to sell in. So we would like to use geosatellite technologies to be able to locate these markets, the times of year they're most populous, areas that maybe tourists tend to go to, and then recommend artisans to go to those areas. Of course, we want to consider all context on the ground, so we'd follow up thinking about how travel is possible and what tools we can provide them to make going to those markets a reality. And yeah, here's an example of the incubator, and then the local market finder. There essentially would have a description of the type of market. Some markets may be just for more food and agriculture, others might be more applicable for artisanal handmade goods. If there's any contact information for people running the market, we would also list it there. Yes, and another idea that we've been playing with as well is a training platform. Again, because we are housed in international universities, we do have a lot of experts involved in different topical areas. So by having a training platform where different individuals, particularly local artisans, can go on and gain tangible business skills, that could have a real impact. I think that's something, long-term we're thinking about even be of a fourth pillar on is like upskilling artisans, right? Like financial literacy is incredibly important. So perhaps providing webinars, infographics, etc., related to financial literacy could be key. Other things that we learn from our marketing analysis and research can also be included in this type of formats. And that way it's almost like we're creating a digital library of all of the data that we are storing and collecting throughout this process. And then a research database, again, we're in the field of academia, and I'm sure we have many academics on this call. Your careers is all about research, and so finding the right data to promote your research can be really important. And so with Spes Nova, we're working with a variety of artisans and different communities, and we have so many access points that can actually be quite valuable to academics. So we want to make this something that could be publicly available. And it's just another benefit for the universities that get involved in our program. And then in addition, service providers, we want to be able to work with artisans who aren't just in the tangible goods space, but also provide services. And so we're trying to think about how best to include that in our e-commerce site, or if those are things that we can promote more locally by establishing, some on the ground presence with those international universities. Yeah, and here are a few workflows. You will all have access to this PowerPoint. I think it's included in our section on Attendify. And this goes into more detail, but we discuss further, just more technical in nature in terms of the information flows and the physical flows between different entities, whether that be Spes Nova as a 501c3, and then the academic institutions we work with, those in the US and those outside of it, and then of course the local artisans and the cooperatives of artisans that we work with. Yeah, and same goes for here too. This one's more of a financial flow, just showing logistically how it works. And this is something that our team keeps in mind to make sure that everything is really recorded correctly. And again, this is another flow at even a higher level. It has some of the financial things here, but the one that I would emphasize with this chart is the feedback loops. I think that that's really valuable, that we're making sure that, we're modifying also from the ground up, right? We don't want fully a top-down approach. We think that having feedback from the artisan is also really key. And I think this is one of the last slides here. We do have the potential of working with other non-academic partners. We've always kept in mind, potentially partnering with another direct lending organization. Kiva is a great example of this. They do offer fairly low rate interest loans to borrowers. And by partnering with them, and we might be able to reach more artisans. And depending on where our academic universities are located, specifically our foreign partners, we might be able to work with Kiva to target certain areas and potentially tap their sources of capital to make the provision of small-scale loans to the artisans in those communities a reality. And then in terms of e-commerce sites, we've also considered potentially getting on Etsy or Serve, where we can then expand our market reach and potentially sell more products from artisans, and thus increase the amount of orders going back to the artisans, the revenue, and ultimately improve the living standards that they have, their families have, and that their community has. All right. I don't know if anybody's thought of any questions since I last asked, but please feel free to chime in. Let's see, we maybe have some in the chat here. What are some challenges faced when connecting or coordinating all the players? That is a fantastic question, and certainly one that we've have faced challenges with. And part of it is, when there are so many actors at a university, finding the right person to connect with, I think, has been key, because there are student leaders involved and there are academic, I would say, more coordinators. We really try to have Spes Nova be student driven. I could say from like a personal anecdote, I had ran the Fordham Chapter of Spes Nova for 3 years, and sometimes there were information gaps between myself and perhaps, the leader at an international partner university, and needing to rely on a Spes Nova connector had been a little bit more difficult. For example, we'd usually go through Dr. Eric Rengifo, and he, was wonderful with connecting us. But what we've learned is that actually it's great to connect students to each other. And that has made the process much more efficient, and I think rewarding as well. The students take on more responsibility and push the projects forward. Of course, still need oversight, but it's been great to see people really step up during the undergraduate years and to lead an on-campus business. I don't know if Ophelia had anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, I think you covered that well, Dana. I think what I would perhaps add is, or with working with international universities, is of course the language barrier that comes into play. So I know recently we've been working with Javeriana University quite intensively. And there's always, when we have meetings, sometimes we can see, okay, they might not be understanding what we're trying to say, and sometimes might not be understanding what they are trying to say. But I guess that's always why we have someone like Dr. Ngifo who can speak both English and Spanish quite fluently. So that really helps us. But at times when it's just Dana and I speaking, that can be a challenge at times.
Yeah, agreed. And at the same time, I do find it to be a motivational factor. I took Spanish for 8 years in school, and it's one thing, reading Spanish from a textbook and talking about it in a classroom, but when you actually, get to talk about it in more contextual, conversational formats, it's much more challenging. So I re-downloaded my Duolingo app, and by being involved in Spes Nova, it does make me want to become more of a global citizen, and that includes having language abilities, which I think is really marketable nowadays. And I think other students feel the same. And I know have been working closely with an individual at Javeriana Cali. And so when we meet together, she's able to work on her English as well, which she appreciates. So I think that's been beneficial. And then I guess I could share just another anecdote, and partially why I'm so fond of Spes Nova. After I graduated from Fordham, and I had applied for a graduate degree at Cambridge over in the UK, and when applying for that USA project I worked on and applying for the job I'm currently at now, I always really relied upon my experiences at Spes Nova to drive forward my credibility as a contributor in the social impact and development space. Being able to say that you ran a business while an undergraduate student is pretty impressive. Being able to say that you connected with and worked with other students and even professors at universities internationally is not something that many students do at an undergraduate level. And so for me, I can say quite boldly that I don't think I would have been accepted into my master's program, into that USAID project, or even at my current job without having the experience of Spes Nova behind me. You saw some of those videos earlier. Those are videos I made, I think my first year involved with Spes Nova. And I still, when I got my last job, January of 2020, I had applied with those videos attached with my resume. And I think that that's what pushed it over the edge, and how I got my current position is because of the work I did. So I'm still involved because I believe this is a transformational program for the students who participate, as well as it's an effective way to really, again, build that sustainable and inclusive development that we're striving for. If you have any other questions, I know it's the last session of the Ashoka U conference and the week. I know it's a Friday and people might be itching for the weekend. If you do develop any questions, over the course of the coming weeks or months, please feel free to reach out to us. Perhaps, Athil, can you go back to the slide that has our contact information? If you want to take this down, please feel free. We're always available for chats, whether it be Spes Nova related or anything else. I love how Ashoka U really does connect people across interests and ways of life. So we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you. I know it's the last meeting for today, and I really appreciate you guys sharing your insights and really inspiring work. So thank you. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We really appreciate that feedback. Yeah, I guess maybe I could also leave off. I know people might be signing out now, but feel free to check out our website. I will mention that because of COVID-19, we have temporarily suspended sub sales, just partially because our students aren't on campus. And that's been a huge barrier to us this past year, is to really continue operations as we have been doing previously. So things are going to be really kicking back up in the fall. And we're really excited to expand sales. We think it's going to be a good time in terms of growth at our organization. So feel free to peruse it now, but do know that sales will really be back up and running come the fall. And we're also working to further tweak and develop the website as we go.
Yeah, but thank you for everyone for attending. I think we can close the session now. I'm not sure, Peter, is there anything that you would like to say before we end off?
No, thank you both for such a wonderful session. This was a great way to wrap up our week. We really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thanks to the entire Ashoka U team for putting on just such a wonderful event.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.